Hey guys, so in this video I will tell you what the CloudFront distribution actually is in Amazon Web Services, and we will start by knowing what the AWS CloudFront actually means and what it does, and then we will go to the AWS Management Console and try to create the CloudFront distribution for our own object, which is present in S3 in my case. So let's start. So let's just say you have an object in the America region. So this is your object, and there is a user in the Asia region who wants to access this object. Okay, so this user wants to access the object which is present in the America region. So what he would do, he would send a request for that object to the AWS. So AWS would fetch the object from the America region, and again, for after some time, if the user too sends the request for the same object, the AWS would get the object from the America region. So now you have built a CloudFront distribution on AWS for this object. So you have built a CloudFront distribution in America region and a Europe region. You have selected America region and the Europe region for your CloudFront distribution. So practically Europe is closer to this user than the America region. So now, if the user 1 is the first user in Asia to request for the object which is present in the America region, the AWS will try to find the object in the nearest location to that user. So the nearest location to the user 1. But it does not find the object in this data center of the Amazon. So what it will do is it will go to the actual origin of the object where you actually placed that object, and it will fetch the object from there. In this case, this is the America region. And now the CloudFront distribution role comes into play. So let's just say the next time the user 2 also wants to get the data which is present in the America region, but now that data is also present in the Europe region because the AWS replicated the same data in the Europe region. When the user 1 accessed that data from the America region, it replicated the same data in the Europe region, so that if a user in the Asia region or the same region as user 1 wants to fetch the same object, the AWS will not have to go to the America region. It will fetch the object from the Europe region. So what this will do is it will save the time for user 2 and all the other users that wants to access the data that was present in the America region. So for the first time, it will take some time to fetch the data as it is being fetched from the origin. But after that, after the first request, the data will be fetched in less time, and this is your CloudFront distribution. So it basically saves time by replicating your objects in different regions, and whenever a user requests a data, the data is fetched from the closest location to that user. And if the user is the first user in its geographical location and the data is not present in the closest location, it will fetch the data from the origin and then replicate that data into the closest location, so that if other users from the same region try to access the same data, the AWS will not have to fetch the data from America. It will fetch the data from Europe, and thus it will save time. So this was a CloudFront distribution explanation, and now we will go to the AWS Management Console. As you can see, I have already logged in into the AWS Management Console, and now we will try to create a CloudFront distribution for a bucket, for an image present in the bucket. So this is the, let me show you the image. So this is the image for which we will make a CloudFront distribution. So first of all, guys, before creating CloudFront distribution, you create a source, and in this case the source is the S3 bucket for me. A source can be an S3 bucket, an EC2 instance, a load balancer, etc. Okay, so these can be your sources for the objects or the data you will place inside. So first of all, in my case, I created a bucket policy which will allow a GET request to this bucket from wherever it is possible. Anyone can access the bucket's object. So as you can see, the effect is allow, and it is to read the object, and for this bucket, so anybody will be able to read this bucket and the objects present in it. So what this will help is, if you don't create such policies, or if you don't create such permissions for your origin of the data, it will not allow and the CloudFront distribution to access the data. So make sure that whichever source you are using for the object, the appropriate permissions are set for the source. So now we will create a CloudFront distribution for the image. So we will search for the CloudFront distribution, CloudFront here. So this is a CloudFront, and don't worry, I will explain the options present here one by one, so it will clear all the doubts. So first of all, this is a there are two options, web and RTMP. So basically we will use web here, and I will tell you what RTMP actually means. If you are streaming live, like if you are doing live videos and you are streaming live, so RTMP is for that. Okay, and web is for your content distribution from your website, like images present on your website or any kind of other files present on your website. So web is for that, RTMP is for your streaming. As you can see, streaming media files using Adobe Flash media servers, etc., etc. You can read about this in the AWS documentation if you want to. So we will click on get started, and this is your origin domain name. So what it actually means is, you can read here, and it is actually the origin of your object. So in my case, it was the S3 bucket. So in my case, it was intern images s3.amazonaws.com. This was the bucket which holds the image. So this is the bucket. And origin path. Origin path is basically your directory. So let's just say I have a directory in my bucket, like my bucket name, and then the directory images, and inside the images directory I have my image. So in this path, origin path, I will put images. So what CloudFront will do, it will go to this S3 bucket, and it will try to search for the image in this images folder or this images directory. So as I don't have an image directory in my intern images bucket, and the image is present directly into the bucket, not into any folder inside the bucket. So, and this option is for restricting the bucket access. So what it actually does is, you can read this. What it actually does is, if a user tries to access your object using some other resource, let's just say directly using your S3 URL, the user tries to access the data, it will block the access, and by clicking on yes, you are making sure that only CloudFront can access the object in your bucket. So okay, and we can create a new identity, or we can create an existing identity. So if you create a new identity, what it basically does is, it creates a new policy for your bucket and grant read permissions on the bucket. So this is the option that Amazon provides. Like, if you want the CloudFront to automatically update your bucket policies, you can, according to its requirement, you can click yes, and otherwise you can click no. I will update the policy. So if you want to customize something or do something extra other than the CloudFront's own policies, you can click on no. So for now, I will click on no, as this is for the tutorial purposes only. But if you want security and other kind of stuff, you can always restrict the bucket access, and you can always change these settings even after you have created your CloudFront distribution. So this is the path pattern. So basically, what it actually means is, let's just say you want only a PDF file to be served on the CloudFront distribution. So you can set up a regular expression CloudFront path pattern. Okay, and this is the viewer protocol policy. So if you want only HTTPS to access the object, or you want to redirect any HTTP request to the HTTPS, you can select these options, and what type of methods you can allow. So you want the CloudFront distribution to only read the object, or to also mutate the object, or change the object, or delete the object. So this can be set according to your requirements, and these are kind of relevant if you want encryption of your objects, or like say you want some passwords and configure your encryption, so you can do that. And this is your object caching. So object caching, basically what it does is you can just click on, so the what I said is the CloudFront would replicate your object in different regions. Okay, so what it basically does is the object is being cached in different regions. Okay, so after a few hours or after a few days, the object will be automatically deleted from those regions, because you don't want your objects to be present everywhere and to increase the cost of a CloudFront distribution system. So AWS automatically deletes the object. So just say your object has not been accessed for the past 3 days, it will automatically delete the objects. But keep in mind that if you manually delete the object from the different locations, it will cost you money. So if the AWS deletes your object from the different locations, keep in mind that AWS will not delete the object from its origin. It will just delete the object from the locations where it was replicated. So if AWS does it, there is no money. But if you do it manually, there is money. There is a cost for this, deleting the object in the different locations. So restrict viewer access, what it means is a viewer can only use the signed URLs. What signed URLs actually means, so let's just say there is a string, like there is a access code for something, and you give the access code to the user, and the user will only be able to access the object if he has this access code. So if you want that kind of feature, you can always click on yes and set up according to you. And these are kind of lambda functions associations. If you want some kind of lambda function to get triggered after the object is being replicated or after something happens in a CloudFront distribution, you can set up a lambda function. And if you don't know what lambda function is, just skip it for now. I will definitely make a video on lambda functions, and you can check it if you want in future. So but now if you don't know it, leave it, it's irrelevant to this video. So price class is basically use only US, like I told you that the object will be replicated in different regions. So these are basically the regions. The object will be replicated in US, Canada and Europe, and use US, Canada, Europe, Asia, Middle East and Africa. The object will be replicated accordingly in these locations. And it is like, if you select this option, it doesn't mean that the Middle East people or the Asia people will not be able to access the object. It's just that object will be replicated only in these regions, and the object will be fetched only from these regions. So use all edge locations, and it will just replicate the object everywhere accordingly, and wherever the edge locations are present. So these are the price classes, and accordingly you will be charged. And alternate domain names. So if you have a domain name, basically you own a domain name, and it has been registered with AWS. Okay, so if you want your CloudFront, your domain name, like you type your name.com, yeah, mydomain.com, and you want to redirect that kind of in the backend, use the CloudFront URL to fetch your object, you can always set up a domain name here. So SSL certificate, if you own a SSL certificate, you can just apply the SSL certificate here, or if you don't own it, you can always use default. So I would like to tell you that you can get SSL certificate for your domain for free from AWS by going into the AWS certificate manager. Okay, you can find it in the you can find it here. And if you already own a SSL certificate, you can always get it from, choose it from this drop down menu. I already have an SSL certificate, but this certificate is associated with my other website, which is abhishek.sharma.net, so I will not use that SSL certificate here, and I will not complicate the things for you. We will just keep it simple. And this is a default root object. So if you have an source, and you type a CloudFront URL, and like if you want to access an object using CloudFront, you have to type your CloudFront URL over in the address bar, and then / and then object name inside the source. So okay, if you want a default root object, like if you just want your CloudFront URL to be present in the address bar, and when you type a CloudFront URL in the address bar and go to that URL, it should automatically give you a particular object. You can type a default root object here. And logging is basically any kind of activity happens with the CloudFront URL. And bucket, you can always save the logs in the buckets, and log prefix is like if you want a specific folder for the logs inside the bucket. And enable IPv6, and you want your CloudFront distribution state initially to be disabled or enabled. So I will keep it at enabled because we want to start a CloudFront distribution as soon as it is created. And so these are all the options. I hope I helped you to clear these updates, and we create the distribution. So it will take a few moments, probably take around 10 to 15 minutes for this to get properly deployed. So I have already deployed a CloudFront distribution for my website. So let's just wait. I will pause the video, and when it is deployed, I will come back to you. So guys, as you can see, the CloudFront distribution has been deployed. So we will check if it is working. So we'll copy the link and paste it here. And for the sake, I would try to change my location. As the bucket is present in India, I would change my location to Germany. So the name, so as I told you, you have to append the name of the image or name of the file that you want your CloudFront distribution to show in the URL. So we will go to the S3 just to copy the image. Come on. Yeah, so as you can see, we are accessing from Germany, and that's why it took time. So this is the bucket, and this is the image. So we will copy the name of the image, copy, and then paste the name of the image, and here is your CloudFront link, append, and the name of the file that you want to open. So this was the CloudFront distribution lab, and as I told you that in this case, let me tell you one thing about the CloudFront distribution, just to confirm that it is working, about the origin path basically, which I told you. So we will go to the distribution settings and origin group, and okay, it is here. So what I told you, that default root about the default root object, that you can set up a default root object, that so when you would go to a CloudFront URL, that would be loaded. So we will, in this case, we will set the default root object as, let's just say, this image. So we'll click edit, and now it will take a few minutes to deploy again. So once it is deployed, I will come back to you. So guys, as you can see, the CloudFront is already deployed, and now we will go to the link of the CloudFront, and just see, I'm removing the name of the image, as we put the name image as our default. So see, the image was our default object, so when we just put the CloudFront URL, it will automatically return the default object. And even if we put in the image here, it will give back the image. So in case only CloudFront URL, the default object will be loaded, and in case some kind of object is appended, the object will be loaded. Doesn't matter if it is a root object. So that was the CloudFront distribution lab. Thank you. I hope you understood what CloudFront is, and thank you. That's all.